Sir, how well did you know Gulshan Kumar?
Yes, I remember meeting Gulshan Kumarji many years ago in Delhi. I found him to be a very affectionate, very warm person, and very friendly, very warm. And he had a very intelligent approach to his work and business, as I observed in those days. And he did come from the ranks, and but he made a place for himself in the sun very fast in the music industry. He came like a stormy petrel and virtually was laying his claim to the music empire. And I do remember also that in those days, very many big music companies used to get a little concerned about his methodology of working.
So, what do you think about him as a businessman? Because he was new.
As a businessman, I think he had a very sharp sense of business in the sense he was very intelligent and he knew his business. He has worked out his business, his structure and his business plan. And he believed in volumes and he believes in minimizing his profits but making great volumes, the turnover. And he gave a tough competition to the established companies of those times, some of the leading names of the music world. And he carved out a niche for himself.
So, during his time, the underworld was very much active, like in extortions and ransoms and everything. So, was it possible to ignore such, you know,
You see,
influence?
often I hear about the underworld being active and being overactive and underactive. This is all an expression and a media hype. You see, the underground exists in every business, I think, even in politics or in the field of business or in the realm of the clergy. There are always some shady characters, the grey areas, grey people. So, Gulshan Kumar, maybe as I said earlier that he was coming from the ranks, maybe he had some of those people who did not make it as big as him were tracking him to get the prize he won. It's like a tiger hunting his meat, and you see the hyenas following and trying to grab the portion of the meat. And this is the law of the jungle. And he was a man of peace and a man of business, and he did his work well. And I think his life was a great example for any young business entrepreneur in film, especially in the field of music. And his unfortunate end was very much grieved by the film industry. I personally felt very disturbed with that. And I'm very happy that his son now is carrying the torch of his father. And as far as Gulshan Kumar is concerned, he will be always remembered as an example, as an icon who did something which now many music companies are imitating.
So, did his death, very sudden, that came as a shock to the industry, and was the people who was also in the rank, who was maybe had a fear of underworld, was shocked very much at that?
You see, his death was of course shocking. His death was very shocking. I mean, people couldn't believe and the manner in which it happened. And whomsoever is responsible for it should be punished. And I don't know what happened about the whole thing. But his elimination from the scene, it was due to some of his own, perhaps some people who knew him, perhaps some people who were jealous of him, perhaps some people who were his competitors. And economy is always a great cause of war or aggression, and he was aggressed upon. And he didn't deserve to go the way he did.
So, did you ever complain about, he's being troubled by any unknown things?
No, as far as I did not know him so well. I knew him, but did not know him so well to share his day-to-day happenings or his contact, his links, or his business associations and his business discussions. But he was generally known as a very peaceful man, and he believed in the Vaishno Devi, and he did so much of charity, and he did a lot of good work. And he minded his own business, and people maybe were jealous of his success. You see, they were jealous of his success, and they brought him down. That's the only explanation which comes to my mind.
Was Gulshan Kumar as a businessman ahead of his time through his ideas or the success that he's got through
See,
his way
in
of working?
every time in business in history, somebody comes forth and breaks the barrier and makes a big, huge mark in his field. Like for example, Microsoft, like Narayan Murthy, like such big icons. They come like Kumar Mangalam Birla, who inherited his empire at a very young age, and he quadrupled it in a very short time. So these people are blessed, and they have the natural talent and the necessary wherewithal, and they understand the finer shades of business and how business should be conducted. Because there's always a saying that when you want to sell or buy something, if you're selling, go into the shoes of the buyer. And if you're buying, go into the shoes of the seller. So to understand the opposite perspective. So he understood the opposite perspective. Like becoming more successful than his competitors. He introduced a new system of music. He challenged the established hierarchy of music in a big way. And there were court battles. And he won them. He was the first one to break the barrier where a song sung by a artist could not be repeated. He challenged that, and he sung some of the most biggest classical musics by Muhammad Rafi and Lata Mangeshkar ji and all these big stars of yesteryears. Their songs were repeated by his own talent team and in the same tone and in the same music. And he got away with it, and he won the case. So that was itself a big thing. And he contributed immensely to the music industry. The whole new spectrum of ideas and in marketing, production, music videos. His son is doing a good job, I heard, and he's doubling his empire, his father's empire. I wish them all well.
Gulshan Kumar was often criticized, as you said. He had court, cases and going on. He was often criticized of, he was into piracy. I mean, he was claimed as he was into piracy. But what is your take on that?
See, I cannot say anything whether he was in piracy or not in piracy. What I read in the paper regarding his re-recordings, which was an open secret, and there was a court battle, as I just mentioned, and he won the cases. As far as piracy is concerned, I don't know about that. I have not given thought to what type of piracy was there. Piracy. He may have, as I said, the re-recording was, if you call it piracy. In the initial stages, it could have been termed as piracy, but it was legitimized later through a court battle. So now everybody is doing it. So it's a notch in his favor, a feather in his cap in a way. But I do not abet anything dishonest. But it was a method used by centuries of business houses and business people to improve their business sales within the permissible limits of the law.